Hi guys, hope everyone's doing well. I'll be with you in a moment. I'm just setting up the stream. Put a bit of background music in the background. We're going to go through some charts of interest as usual, see what's been moving. Obviously, we had the FOMC federal funds rate decision last night. And we've also had Bank of England announcement today. So we're going to go cover a couple of those type of markets. I'm going to go over some of the markets that we spoke about on Tuesday. One of those was dollar Swiss. The other one was yen pairs in general. I was looking for yen strength to start to come back into the market. We've started to see that now. So I like the idea of being a buyer of the Japanese yen. Ended up taking 2 short positions on CAD yen. Ended up profiting both positions on that one. So we'll go take a look at some of those type of charts as well. Hi Royston, hope you're doing well. As always, guys, any questions, throw it in the chat box. Any kind of charts that you're trading as well, let me know. Throw it in there. We can go take a look at those markets. So if you want a breakdown of any market in particular, we can go take a look. I'm going to be focusing a lot on, like I said, I like the yen pairs. We focused a little bit on some stock markets as well last week, and I'm going to be going over a few of those. So I'm going to kick it off here with data. As always, I always like to go through sort of the news that has come out. And one of the things that we had was the federal funds rate decision held at 5.5%. What we were looking at here really was the language that the Federal Reserve used in the statement and press conference, especially Jerome Powell. And it was basically the idea that we're not really going to see the rates cut just yet. They still need to wait for some more data. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this develops now. I wonder how that has affected, I'll just get it up over here, how that has affected the CME watch tool going into the March meeting. The probabilities were a little bit more 50-50 the last time we checked. They have now gone a little bit differently now. We can see that now there's a 62.5% that there'll be no change in the March meeting, and only a 37.5% that we'll get that easing. And that was down to the language, like I said, that Federal Reserve Chairman Powell used. So obviously data is now going to impact this as well. Let's say we get stronger sort of inflationary figures or sort of data that will impact inflation. If we see that kind of getting a little bit stronger, then the no change will get stronger here, and we could possibly see a little bit more dollar strength off the back of that. So yeah, I'm going to be watching this very, very closely. Obviously, we've got some data coming up at the end of the week. Tomorrow, we've got non-farm employment data as well. So if we were to see any kind of significant changes here, maybe some rises in employment figures, I mean, it is forecast to be pretty bearish for the US dollar at the end of the week. If we were to get some surprises here, some shocks, that could lead to something where the dollar could start to actually kind of get a little bit stronger. Who else we got in then? So Justin, hi, hope you're doing well. Vincent, good afternoon. Hope you're doing well as well, Matt. I'm doing well, thank you. So yeah, let's go check out what the Bank of England announcement was. You can see I've got the MPC official bank rate votes open here, but the bank rate was 5.25%. So we saw the Bank of England hold. The MPC official bank rate vote is essentially in the committee, how are they voting on what happens next with interest rates? Okay, so the first number is, you can see it here, actually. The vote is reported in an XXX format. The first number is how many MPC members voted to increase interest rates. The second number is how many voted to decrease rates. And the third is to how many hold rates, okay? And we actually saw a little bit of a change to this as well. So previously it was 306. So 3 were talking about how they wanted to increase interest rates. 0 people wanted to cut interest rates and 6 to hold. Okay, that was meant to change to 207. In fact, it was 216. So one member is calling for a cut, basically, which could have a slight negative impact here for cable. I haven't actually looked at the cable chart, so we can do that together in a moment. Yeah, but essentially, we have other data coming out today as well. We've had unemployment claims as well. Let me just refresh this page. We can have a little look at that. So unemployment claims in the US actually fell. Actually increased to 224K. So that's why we saw a little bit of dollar weakness recently. 3 o'clock, we've got ISM manufacturing PMI data as well. So still a lot of data to come out today. However, one of the markets we were looking at recently was dollar Swiss. Dollar Swiss for me was a chart of interest this week due to the currency strength meter and the potential for a reversal in the markets. And I didn't mean to do that, so I don't know why that's happened. But essentially, what I'm looking at here is potential breaks above 86.50. You know me, I like the idea of volume being built up in areas, and then I like to see a break of volume. So I can see, obviously, we found support, we rallied, we found an area of consolidation. This was an area of interest for us. I like the idea of price potentially coming back into this area of support. We have data yesterday drove price into this level. We've seen a rejection. I'm just waiting to see how price builds up here now. I think we're obviously waiting for that manufacturing PMI data to come out. But if there's a little bit of good news there for the dollar, we could see dollar Swiss breach this 86.50 handle, which might lead to price coming in, kind of heading towards these highs and that 0.88 handle. So still waiting on dollar Swiss. I haven't entered a position here just yet. I want to see price kind of break through this area. And if we were to kind of look at it in terms of volume like we usually do, if I just bring on the volume profile. Sorry, my mouse is really playing up now. Probably need to change the batteries. You can see what I'm talking about here in terms of volume. You've got low volume, higher volumes, and then we've got that sort of higher volume being built in here. So essentially, I'm looking to see, can we breach this area here, and can that lead to price going to sort of find a new fair value, essentially, with regards to price heading towards those previous swing highs in here. Okay, other markets of interest that I quite like the look of, obviously CAD yen was one, and I like the idea of being short CAD yen. Can I just bring in? Yeah, so here's my MetaTrader 5 terminal. This is where I got short, okay, on CAD yen. So you know me, I like the idea of trading ranges. I think that they're a good thing to look at. One thing we looked at on Tuesday was price making a new low here? It actually failed to make a new low, and price rallied to the upside. So I basically waited to see how price reacted back at the range high. In my opinion, range highs, I don't really want to be a buyer anymore. I want to be a potential short seller at that point. I like the idea of being short CAD yen because of the currency strength meter. So I ended up taking 2 positions short here. I banked my first target at the range low. So again, really conservative target there. Stop losses were above this high, and I was looking to see, could we target that range low initially? And the reason why I take 2 positions in the market is so that I can let another one run and see if it can go to my next area of interest. And it did. It broke this low in here, and it went down to this volume level down through there. So I like the idea of price coming into this area. So I ended up taking profit just a little bit shy of the zone, just because I like to be the sort of first person out of the move rather than trying to get out too late. Now, the 109.25 was the point of control of this volume zone down through here. So it was the most traded level. And you can see that price did initially come into that area and did start to react around that point. We are starting to see a little bit more downside now. So arguably, I could have held this position down to sort of the lows, but obviously I don't know what's going to happen next. So I like to just kind of get out where I feel comfortable getting out. And that's the sort of trade setup that I've had. That's the only trade setup I've had this week. I haven't really looked at anything else, but we're starting to get obviously a little bit of nice downside play here. Looking at the daily chart, we are back at daily lows, and I think if we can breach and close below these lows, then there's an opportunity to see price maybe coming down to some other levels of support and resistance, and you know, that could be down towards this sort of 107.80 kind of level is what I'm kind of looking at. But I'm just going to take it day by day. I'll see if we get a strong daily close below that level. If we do, I'll have a little look for some opportunities to the downside again on Cadjpy. And we also like some other yen pairs as well, so we'll go take a look at those other yen pairs as well in a moment. Sorry, I've missed some messages. Jason, what's up, bro? Why are you helping us? One, because it's my job, and two, because I like to. Right guy, John, what's up? I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you? Justin, nice setup. Thanks, Justin. Yeah, it was a nice setup, to be fair. Nice clean, actually. Nice clean entry. I basically entered using the 30-minute chart as well. So if I just go into the 30-minute chart here, let me just take off the VWAP here for a second. I basically entered off of this lower low, lower close candlestick. Okay, so like I said, when price comes into a higher time frame level of support and resistance, one thing that you can look for is what I like to call the lower low, lower close candlestick at that level of resistance on a lower time frame. So I essentially took my short position in here, put my stop loss just covering those highs, and my first target was in and around this area here. Second target was down towards this zone in here, which was just a little bit higher, came out around about this area, about that 109.40. Essentially what I was looking to target, like I said, I can bring the volume profile on TradingView, that's why I analyze with that. But you can see, look, 109.25 was that point of control. This is where that volume starts to pick up around here, around about that 109.40 area. So that's why I ended up getting out at that point. Obviously as well, we're in that sort of daily double top resistance range high area as well. So I want to get out towards that support. So yeah, like I said, if we can breach this and maybe get a daily close below, we can start looking for something else as well and see if we can get the continuation at that point. Question just come in. Right, guy, do you think the NFP will finally break the US dollar out? I don't know. It's kind of stayed within that 103.50 range, hasn't it? I expected the FOMC to really be the catalyst that would drive this kind of move. Was there any surprises in the data or in what Powell said? Maybe not. I mean, the market was almost pricing in the fact that there wasn't going to be a cut in this meeting, but there was also expectations that the Fed would cut interest rates in the March meeting. And like I've been saying to you guys throughout sort of what we've seen so far, I didn't really expect the central bank to cut interest rates. They only really cut interest rates if they really need to. So they're still kind of trying to play on this fact that the problems with inflation is not yet over. They want to see some more data towards that. Do I think they'll cut this year? Potentially. I think it's going to depend on, obviously, like they said, it's going to depend on the data. If the US economy remains pretty good, they have no need to cut interest rates. I think what we need to see is some kind of catalyst behind that. Now, NFP could be a catalyst that drives prices. Like I said, if we get a miss on those numbers and we actually see a stronger sort of jobs report, then we could obviously see the dollar kind of break out of this range that it's in at the minute. We could see it come up towards those 104.20s, 104.50s. If it doesn't and it comes out sort of as expected, we probably are going to remain within the range. I don't see any kind of sort of breakout happening unless there is some kind of miss either side. Now, obviously, the unemployment rate. So let's have a little look at the data that's kind of dropped already. It can kind of give you a little bit of a clue sometimes as to what could happen with regards to NFP. So let's have a quick flick over. So yeah, I can see the ADP non-farm employment change that actually saw quite a significant decrease. We're expecting 148. Came in at 107. Okay, so there's quite a significant drop in there. We can obviously see the employment cost index quarter on quarter has come down as well, whether that has an effect or not. And obviously we've had unemployment claims come out today, which has seen an increase. So it does look likely that this NFP number could come in lower. Okay, so it could come in a lot lower. That's why I reckon that if it didn't, let's just say if it didn't, there's going to be a bit of a shock. Okay, a little bit of a shock. Always look at the revised numbers as well when it comes to NFP. They like to revise this number as well. So it'll be interesting to see if we get any kind of revisions there. I think anything above 200k is pretty good. Anything below tends to be pretty bad. As a general rule of thumb for NFP. But Ragai, I don't really know the answer to that question. I can only assume that we're going to get a breakout at some point, and there's going to be a catalyst that drives that breakout. NFP could be that catalyst. Just have to wait and see. Rahil, pound US dollar analysis, please. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go have a look at cable, because we spoke about cable this week. We like the idea of maybe it kind of breaking the range, because we had Bank of England announcement, we had FOMC. So we expected some kind of breakout of this range. That hasn't happened. Okay, we've come back yet again into the range lows. So, like I said earlier, I like trading ranges. They're easy defined. We can pick out key points. We've come back into that level now. Is this going to be a level where buyers start to get back in? And are we going to see another rush to the top of the range? That's what I would be kind of leaning towards at the moment. One way we can do that is start looking at sort of price action in and around these areas. So look, we can see the market's making lower highs and lower lows, and we've breached that now, and we've come and retested that previous high in here. So looking at that, that's a 30-minute time frame. We could argue there is a point of looking in here and maybe dropping down to a 15-minute and having a little look for the higher high, higher close candlestick formation. If we were to see a higher high, higher close here, could lead to some buying. The only thing I would say is that we do have some high impact data coming up at 3 o'clock. So you can see ISM manufacturing PMI coming up. So when you're trading the lower time frames, like what I'm kind of discussing here, you've got to be really aware of those high impact news events. So might not be the best thing to look at right now. Maybe have a little look at after that data, see how price has kind of formed. But rule of thumb for me is if price is at a range low, don't really want to be shorting now. I would rather wait. If we can breach lows, then I'd be interested in shorting, because to me that means that the market is seeing value elsewhere, and that we could come down into sort of previous lows or another area where volume has accumulated. So that would be the thing I would look for. But at the moment, we're at this range low. I would not be a seller here. I would be waiting. We also have to ask ourselves the question, if you want to be a short seller of cable right now, where do you want to be short from? Well, I want to be short from this zone, because that's where the strong sells are coming in. That's where I'm going to get a good risk reward ratio. That's where risk management is going to make the most sense to me. Not getting short down through here. So if you want to be short, I would wait. If you want to be long, this is where I'd be looking for longs. Again, risk management wise, you can get entries around the sort of range lows. You can get stop losses below the lows there and still have a good risk reward ratio towards the high of the trading range there. So yeah, I definitely think that there could be something formulating in and around this point. I would just be a little bit cautious that there's news. I think if you're going to go into something, you want to be in it for the short term ahead of that data. One other market that I did quite like the look of was pound yen shorts as well. Again, just kind of looking at it from a multi-time frame analysis point of view. Last week we had sort of a doji candlestick into previous weekly highs. Again, this is a real key area of resistance, because look how the market reacted here in the past. We had a very aggressive move to the downside. As soon as we kind of breached that low there, you know, I think there was a good chance that price could continue to the downside here. And it looks like we're breaking through multiple levels of support as well. So if that continues, you know, could pound yen end up all the way back down at the 179 handle, you know? And if it does, could that be a good opportunity to look for some opportunities? Now, daily chart today came back into previous highs, so wouldn't have been necessarily interested in getting short here. I like the idea, obviously, that breakout of that accumulation there on the 4-hour time frame. I think that was a pretty clean setup. Didn't take this myself, but I was already in CAD yen shorts, but nice accumulation. Again, what happens here is volume is built, okay? They are buyers and sellers battling it out at this point. Buyers and sellers find fair value here. That's why they're happy to trade in these little pockets, okay? What happens when price breaches that? It goes and seeks value elsewhere, and you've got that in there, right? You've got that volume area here. You've got low volume there. Market comes in, retests it, rejects it more importantly, and then boom, seeing that sort of sell-off happen now. So we could come and test the sort of low of this area, maybe 184.50s, but what you could potentially look at is the fact that price is being accepted back within this value area here, okay? And if price was to come back up again, retest, kind of reject 186, then it could move down to the 184.50. That could be an opportunity there, just thinking in terms of volumes. So I'm going to put an alert back up at 186. I think if we get a pullback to there, we start to see the right kind of rejections on a lower time frame, then maybe there could be something opportunity wise in here. Again, if I just kind of drag on volume, just to kind of make sense of it. Again, you've got that kind of low volume pocket through here. This is the sort of area I'm talking about. You've got volume being built in this area here. So there's a good opportunity that price will try and reach that other side, maybe find some support, come back up, maybe kind of trade within this area in here. Vincent, Aussie US dollar, please. Yeah, let's go check out Aussie US dollar actually. Looks like we have seen a nice breakout now and a continuation to the downside. So this was something that we, again, kind of talked about. You know, I like the idea of price failing at 66 handle. Again, just try and think in terms of selling from highs, buying from lows, right? All these highs here being built up was just another area that sellers could have added into the market. Obviously, price could have broke out. It could have continued higher at that point. You know, it's not 100% guaranteed that price is going to fall from a high, but market will give you the clues. You've got all this kind of build up here at that 66 handle. Argue 66.20 highs, but this is where the volume is being created. Obviously, it would have been a good idea to start looking at opportunities around this area, and price has obviously since now found a catalyst to kind of breach lower. If you have a little look at the daily chart here, I think we're at a pretty critical point on Aussie US dollar. I think if we can close below this sort of range here, so maybe 65.25 and below, I think if we close below that, you know, where's the next sort of areas that we can look at? We've got obviously 64.60s, which are kind of these lows in here, but I would consider them to be fairly minor. We have this kind of demand zone down through here as well, where we can see aggressive buying kind of came from this area down through here. So that would be another area of strong volume. Volume's obviously built up in that accumulation. We broke out, we tested it. Buyers decided to add in very strong bullish push away. So these areas here could be sort of opportunities for support. So yeah, just watch the daily closes here. I think if you get a strong bearish daily close, potentially the next day, look at the sort of pullback and then see if we can get a continuation of that downside pressure there. Okay. Right, guy. Cadjpy looks like a double top on the daily. Yeah, so if I just bring back in, I might as well just show you the MetaTrader. terminal there. Yeah, double top, back at that 110 handle, back at that resistance area through here. Like I said, I think if we breach this neckline, I guess, or these lows on the daily chart, and we close below, get a strong daily bearish close below, then I think we could be heading down towards the sort of 107.80s. I'm out of my positions now, like I showed everybody earlier. This was my short position in here, my two shorts, got out at range lows, looked for the breakout as well. So I'm just looking to see, you know, what happens next, essentially. It's played quite well this week to just sit on my hands a little bit. I haven't actually, you know, Cadjpy is the only position I really took. And I think that was due to the fact that it was the cleanest setup. And with the amount of data that we had this week from sort of the US and Australia as well, so that could kind of add to your Australian dollar analysis, CPI falling as well. Then, you know, you sit on your hands a little bit and you just wait for those cleaner setups. Would I have liked to have been short here on Aussie dollar? Absolutely. But yeah, haven't took anything there. Like I said, the only one I really like the look of was dollar Swiss. The daily candlestick close yesterday was a nice strong sort of wick. And yeah, I'm just kind of waiting. Again, wait for an opportunity. There's nothing there for me right now. I like longs above 86.50 because that breaks volume. So I'll wait on that one. Some other charts then. Let's go flick around. Obviously, Aussie yen, real big breakout of there now. Again, that's something we spoke about on Tuesday. That's very aggressive to the downside. Don't know how you would be able to kind of jump on that unless you're looking at sort of short-term pullbacks, or unless you're on sort of lower time frames looking at opportunities on that particular move. Yeah, I wouldn't know how you'd catch that unless you got in towards this range high at 97.66. But that's something we talked about on Tuesday. When the yen comes in as a strong currency or even a weak currency, it can be quite an aggressive move. So that was one to watch. Let's go and have a little look around. Annie, welcome. Hi, John. Been here from the start. Just got my chat connected. Cool. Could you look at oil on short personally? Yeah, let's go check oil. Let me just flick down to it. And we'll go take a little look at some stock markets. This is a nice breakout on Kiwi yen, by the way. Definitely one to watch there. Swiss yen as well. This was another one we spoke about on Tuesday. Swiss yen, nice little range there. Starting to see potentials for a breakout here as well. Keep an eye on Swiss yen. We'll come back to stocks in a moment because we're starting to see a little bit of downside pressure there, but the DAX is retesting. Gold, silver. Here we go. Where is oil? Here we go. Oil. So can you look at oil? I'm short personally. Yeah, let's have a quick look here then. The only thing I'd say about the short might be at risk is only because we obviously come up into sort of this area here where we've had sort of strong selling. So it makes sense that if you were short, to get short up at this area here. The only thing I would say is obviously 75.50 was a pretty interesting area for price. It kind of stuck here a couple of times and then has breached that level and come back through. I would be happy to hold the short if we got through this level, because that would mean that it's maybe accepted back within this value here, and we might see a move down towards the sort of $70 area. Depends on where you've got short. I think if I was short here, let's go down to a lower time frame. Let's go to like an hourly, because I think if I was short maybe off this sort of rejection in here, I would have already took some off the table. Let's go look at a 15-minute. Let's see what the price action was on a 15-minute. I mean, that break of accumulation there and retest would have been a great spot to get involved on oil. I think if I was short in and around sort of 78, maybe I mean, if you got super lucky and got in around 79, or say lucky, skillfully got in at 79, then I would have already took some of my position out. I'd have very much been out here, stops to break even. If it breaks, it breaks. You know, I'll keep an eye on it and see how it manages. I mean, it doesn't look particularly great at the moment. I can see that we tapped into 75.50 and that we're starting to sort of break higher here. Again, I like the idea of dollar strength in the market, so I would be leaning more towards a little bit of downside here, but I just don't necessarily like the price action. But like I said, I think if I was short at 78, I'd already have covered some of the position. I'll move my second half to break even and just see what happens. Because I think if it does breach 75.50, then you've got a lot of sort of opportunity to see that sort of $70 area. That's the way I would kind of look at oil. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. I haven't really looked at any kind of fundamentals into oil as well. So have a little check on the fundamentals as well. Vincent, when yen pairs start to move, they move fast, making it difficult to catch. Yeah, they move very quickly, especially when it's yen dominating the markets. Again, always kind of look at your change tab over here. If you don't have access to TradingView, the simple way to do that is just come down to your MetaTrader platform, go to View, Market Watch. You've got the daily change tab in here. Now you can just tab it into sort of yen pairs and stuff like that, but always have a little look at the change, have a little look at what's dominating that sector. I think it's quite easy to see on TradingView just because I've got it kind of open here, but we can see obviously dollar yen down, Aussie yen down, CAD yen down, Euro yen down, pound yen down. We know Swiss yen, New Zealand yen are down as well. So it's definitely a yen dominated move at the moment, which will update on the strength meter. We'll probably see that yen strength starting to kind of come back into the market now. So yeah, but when it moves, it can move very quickly. And I find with yen pairs, I like to get out as soon as I feel comfortable because they can reverse also very quickly. So yeah, the yen's a beast, to be honest. The yen is a little bit of a beast. I mean, look at that chop as well that you can sometimes get. Akao, hi John, how often do you do lives? I do lives every Tuesday and Thursday. So Tuesday 2 p.m. and Thursday 2 p.m. Hopefully that helps. Let's go have a little look at the stock market. Obviously, yesterday, stock market had a bit of a bad day. We saw a little bit of sort of downside here. The S&P 500, I still think can go on to do some good things this year. And I'm kind of looking to see how I can enter this market safely. And I've got my alert set down at 47 or 4800s because I like the idea of potentially seeing price coming kind of back into this zone here and retesting it and kind of going on its way to all-time highs again. So I will be kind of keeping an eye on that. Looking at the 4-hour time frame at the moment, I can see obviously this is going to be a sticking point for price, this area here. The reason being, again, if you kind of think about it in terms of volume, we've had low volume in here and then volume starting to sort of pick up around this area and obviously throughout that sort of zone. So if I was to put a volume profile on here, you'd see high volume there, low volume, and then lots of volume down here. So let's just go and do that just so I can we can see visually how that looks at the moment. And the market obviously moves very fast through low volume areas. So it's very important to watch how price reacts here, because if we don't break this level here, if we don't break this area and price holds, then that could be a catalyst for price to start trading higher again. If we come into this low volume pocket, then the market could retest, head down to that 48, where we've got the big volume. And that's where I really want to be. If I want to be long on the S&P, that's where I really would like to see the S&P 500 get to, in order to then potentially look at ideas. But NFP is going to drag this market around as well, so we're going to have to wait to see how that performs as well. I know some of the earnings weren't great recently, so that's why we're probably seeing a little bit of this downside pressure. Same with the Nasdaq. Nasdaq was coming down. I've got sort of 1695, 17,000 as my sort of area. I'm going to move that up to 17,000 as my sort of alert. Again, we kind of broke volume here. We broke volume, so I'd be a little bit more on the bearish side of the Nasdaq until we kind of came into 17k, and then I'd be looking to see how price reacts in and around this area again, because I do think stock markets are probably going to have a pretty decent run. I was watching for a potential Dow long, and the reason being is because we've rallied from this level, we've consolidated, we've rallied again, we're back now at that consolidation. So again, thinking volumes is what I always like to say. You're going to have a big pocket of volume in here now. Is price going to be accepted within that volume, or is it going to rally off and go to and find value elsewhere? You know, I can see that there's some strong volume up here, for instance. So I'm actually watching this at the minute, and I've got I did have an alert set above the high, and I'm looking to basically see, can price trade through that high there? Can it hold above that high? Will that then lead to sort of a bit of a rally here on the Dow? If not, then I think if we get accepted within this sort of volume area here, and we kind of breach to the downside, we could come down to sort of the low at that 37.80 at the moment. So yeah, I'm just kind of watching the Dow. I'll move my alert down to the low here as well. But this little bit of price action here is what I'm interested. I actually nearly went short. Earlier, just off of this little area, this little zone in here, because the market actually formed a bit of a high at that point. I didn't mean to do that. And I was basically looking to trade that little range in here. But I thought better of myself to get involved with that just before the open. And yeah, now we're starting to see a little bit of a move around. But I'll be watching this. I'll be watching a break above this point. I'm going to put an alert at that high as well. Because I think if we break out of this area here, you know, where was the volume built previously? It was built up towards this sort of 38.50 or 38.500 area. So I think if we trade above that, it could be a move towards this area here. So Jonathan, swap long for indices with my broker to be quite high at around 7%. Is this common? I don't know. Let me have a quick look up here. I don't tend to go around looking at other brokers, to be honest. Let's have a little look. Specification. Let's get it up here a second. Yeah, I mean, swap long on stocks is not very good. Not very good at all. Swap short's pretty good. Yeah, so you just have to add that into your analysis, really. If the swaps are something that you're concerned about, I would consider maybe not holding something long term. Maybe look for just intraday moves. But 7%, I would say, is quite high. But yeah, the only other one I like as well, obviously the DAX. We've come back into sort of this area here, which I'm interested in. But other than that, like I said, this week's mainly been focused on just a few opportunities. CAD yen really is the only market I've traded. I did like the idea of being short Swiss yen. I didn't get short though. But if we can break this 169.80 area to the downside, I think that's going to be something to just have a little look at. Just look at it from a weekly perspective as well. We've got this almost bullish channel being created, and I think if we can kind of break through this little bit of an area here, you know, Swiss yen could end up towards that 163 area. So I think Swiss yen's got some good potential at the moment. So we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. And yeah. Right, I've been running for about 40 minutes, guys. That's how long I usually like to run these, 45 minutes or so. So I'm going to leave it there. Obviously, you've had a pretty good trading week this week. Been very, very patient. And yeah, we'll see if there's anything that kind of develops going into next week. The only other one I liked was Bitcoin long, but I don't think that's set up just yet. Okay, so it might be. I like the idea of it coming back to this area here. I might keep a little eye on a Bitcoin move. But yeah, right, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks to everybody that came and viewed. If you could leave the stream a like, that I would really appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button to be alerted when another one of these lives go up. Just want to give a shout out to everybody that commented. So Royston, Justin, Vincent, Jason, Guy, Raheel, Annie, thank you very much. Akau as well. Thank you for all your comments and questions. I really appreciate that. Thank you for joining the stream today. I hope you got out what you wanted to get out of it. And I will speak to you on Tuesday. So see you later, guys. Have a good one.